What's going on, guys? My name is Alexander Mazai with NFTs.tips, and we're going to teach you about non-fungible tokens. So let's go!
Let's get into some marketplace discussions. Nifty Gateway, known as a gated community. Why do we say that? You need to be invited or you need to apply and be approved. And generally speaking, they're looking at key factors like how big of an influencer are you? And they'll very quickly judge you based on your reputation and more specifically your social media following. If you have a large social media following, good chance they'll let you on their platform. If you have an experience with art, like a long-running history of doing successful art shows and have a good following around your art, you will probably be accepted. They get a ton of applications every day, and it may take quite a while, even if you're quite a known, and you might consider yourself a celebrity or a multi-Grammy winner or any of these kind of levels, you may still find yourself in a long line to get on Nifty Gateway. Zora is all built for the rebels. As far as I know, they had a invite-only kind of scenario going on so that artists that were on the platform could invite other artists, and they were using it as kind of like quality control mechanism. But as far as I know, they opened it up, so now anyone can get a Zora account. Zora is cool because they don't take a huge percentage of the commission in terms of the revenue when you make a sale on Zora. I believe they take 1%. Nifty Gateway takes more. I'm not sure exactly. I think it's 30%. Foundation, another really interesting platform I have very mixed feelings about personally, but my feelings aside, the facts remain that Foundation requires you to be invited not only by an artist that is on their platform, but by an artist that has sold work. So in other words, you have to be an artist that is on Foundation, and if you've sold at least one piece, then Foundation will give you, I believe, 5 invites, and then you can invite 5 of your fellow artists onto the platform. And once any of them sell their work, then they get their invites, and they can invite other people. A couple things to note about Foundation. Expect to pay substantial gas fees. Instead of paying like one fee to mint something, you will pay one fee to mint. You will pay a second fee, second gas fee to list, which is not cheaper. It's like, I just went through this last night. It was $100 for a gas fee. It was another $100 to list. Kind of a head beating before you even get to know if your artwork's going to sell or not. And then on top of that, Foundation takes a whopping 15% of your sale on every sale. And then last thing to know about Foundation, expect to pay a third gas fee for you to accept a bid. If someone gives you a bid that you want to accept, that will be a third gas fee. So your maybe higher end work might go on a platform like Foundation, or you may swerve on it entirely. I have heard many collectors kind of looking at that in some ways as like a little bit of a, unfortunately, they're seeing it as a little bit like a bar. You know, people above this bar, they want to invest in. So I think it's in some ways unfortunate, or maybe fortunate, who knows, but that's the landscape that we're living in. Crypto.com. Another gated community. Do you have a question?
Crypto.com is actually a closed network, just like Flow. Can you go a little bit about what that means?
I don't know if it's even a closed network so much like Flow, because the Flow blockchain is absolutely closed and proprietary and not a decentralized blockchain. As far as I know, crypto is operating on another blockchain that is an open blockchain, but the way that their platform is built is certainly closed. In other words, they don't have an open invite. You can't just go there and mint your own work. I don't even know if you can apply there. I mean, I'm sure they could, but they have very tailored and curated releases among A-list celebrities. That's the tactic and route that they have taken. They very recently rolled out their NFT marketplace, and for whatever reason, they decided to get into NFTs. But they've already been known in the marketplace as an exchange where you can buy crypto and exchange it from one currency to another, from one cryptocurrency to another.
Nifty Kit?
Nifty Kit is a fantastic platform that we highly encourage people to explore, especially for curators or upper end clientele that do not wish to be on a platform crowded by other artists, but instead wish to roll out a custom marketplace that includes only the work that they would like displayed, that is minted within their specific collection, and that comes along with a token ID. There's just a whole bunch of jargon for early adopters. But really, NiftyKit is quite interesting, and I highly recommend looking into them. They also have a marketplace, so you can shop there immediately. And they have new features that are rolling out on a regular basis.
So we got Vivi, and Vivi is a really interesting NFT. It comes with a vault, and I actually bought it because of the vault, and I had to buy assets to put in the vault after I bought the asset. I got the vault. But what's interesting is they have licensed license agreements with like DC Comics. So they have Batman, they have Joker, they have Harlequin, they have Ghostbusters, they have all different movies and different things that we know growing up as kids, and those are now in an agreement. So copyright still does exist. Copyright is still a thing. Just because you made it an NFT does not mean that you could just go and post other people's artwork and say, hey, I'm minting this. Haha, look at me. You're going to potentially get yourself into some trouble down the road, if not immediately. So then we have OpenSea.
OpenSea was one of the first marketplaces. They're known as an aggregator, which means they're listening to the blockchain, and they're crawling it in such a way that anytime that there is a NFT artwork minted, they will identify that and to make sure that it is in fact an artwork, and then they will let people see it. So OpenSea is kind of a great tool for that. They also have a thing called lazy minting, which is why many of us began adopting and using OpenSea, and in many ways flocking towards them, thinking here's the great answer. But then we found out somewhat recently that there's some other things, and maybe some technological drawbacks from using OpenSea, including the way that they pin their media. They don't use the best practice, which is using IPFS, which stands for Interplanetary File System, as a means of securing that actual image or video file or music file, whatever media is attached to the NFT, should be pinned to IPFS, and that's how most of these platforms work. For whatever reason, OpenSea did not choose that route and has yet to implement that. And so they are storing that media on a centralized server. That's not so great. None of us feel so good about that, because what happens if OpenSea was to stop being a company? Or what happens if that server system goes down, or they just, any number of things that could happen. They get bought out or whatever. Just because a company goes up or down, or just because a platform, might not exist anymore, is no reason for the media that is attached to an NFT that is on a blockchain that will certainly outlive most of these platforms that exist today, right? That NFT that was minted on that blockchain should be able to serve up that media for as long as the blockchain exists. And that just might not be the case with OpenSea. So many of us are kind of rethinking our choices there.
However, they did just do something with Matic, right?
They do have a Matic marketplace, and I'm enjoying that feature, Matic.OpenSea.io. So that's cool. Matic is a great chain, and I think we'll get a little deeper on that in some future videos.
So one of the things that you guys
I say
need to realize,
great chain, but I should say side chain. It was side chain to Ethereum.
So one of the things that is really interesting is that with NFTs, when you have a contract, you can put a commission or a royalty into the contract. And some of these platforms will not honor it if you go off of that platform. So that's another thing.
Yeah, in other words, if you mint an NFT on one of these, pretty much anyone on this list, if you mint it there, and then you were to say in the secondary sales market, like I purchased an NFT, and then a year later, that NFT is worth a whole lot more because that artist has become even more recognized, and that artwork and that NFT is far more valuable. So a year later, I want to resell that. That's what's called the secondary market, the second time that an NFT is sold. And if I sell it on the same marketplace that I bought it, then the artist will certainly get their commission embedded. That's happening in the smart contract. But if I buy it, say on OpenSea, but then I resell it on a different platform, that revenue will not go back to the artist, and that makes us very sad. We don't like that at all. We are very much eagerly awaiting the contract standard and or marketplace and marketplaces that can offer us a minting platform that will actually uphold secondary revenue and secondary commissions regardless of what platform that secondary sale occurs on. But currently that's not the case.
So then we have Rarible. Now Rarible's different because it actually has a token that you get as well, like when you do certain things, right?
So Rarible has a token that is called the Rari token. We were talking about ERC20 tokens. That's come up a little bit, a few times in the discussion so far. So Rari is the ERC20 token. They call it a governance token, another word for it, of Rarible. So when you are doing things like buying or listing and, buying and selling NFTs on Rarible, they reward you with airdrops in the form of Rari tokens, which actually have a value. And you can, after you accumulate a certain amount of them, you could sell them and exchange them for ETH, which is certainly valuable. Then you could buy more NFTs. Or you could do things like vote on certain subjects and certain things that they're doing because they're formed as a DAO. And so the Rari token is the governance token, which means it's like a voting token. So if you had certain things that you wanted to vote on related to, say, future features that they were going to build out or any of those kind of company situations, that by having Rari, you're able to cast a vote on those situations.
So the next one is Calamint.
Calamint is another blockchain. It's another marketplace on the Tezos blockchain. So we're talking a lot about Ethereum, but there are other blockchains. Tezos is one of them. They're perhaps a bit smaller because they've been around for a less, not as long as Ethereum. They don't have quite as much adoption, but also they don't have as much gas fees either. So blockchain like Tezos or a side chain to Ethereum like Matic would both offer you the option of minting with like fractions of a penny as the gas fee instead of like $100 that you would find on most Ethereum minting fees.
So the next one I thought was interesting was Wax. And the first exposure we had was the Street Fighter drop. And they had a pack drop that was 24 hours. And it was a gamified experience. So not only opening the packs, but then you had to do something with the cards, which were called crafting. And you actually destroyed 2 cards to make a new one. And that new card that was created could be one of 5 rarities. And then you can level them up with different build cards to get to a specific level all the way up to 5. And the first person who did it got the lowest serial number of that set. So that's how they basically created the value, and the scarcity was who could do it first. And it was a rather interesting experience.
Super Rare is similar to Nifty Gateway insofar as it's like a gated community. They have very select few people that they allow onto their platform, and they judge people largely based on their social following and past performance. You could say Nifty Gateway and Super Rare are both kind of in a situation of being like top tier servicing blue chip artists. You could say something like that, like the more celebrity artists are on those platforms, and they're fetching larger sales oftentimes as a result. But also that exclusivity comes at a cost of many people are judging them based on a lack of diversity and a reiteration of the same kind of broken system of offering cultural expression to the masses. Why should we only see white male artists that are super affluent? That doesn't necessarily make sense or isn't representative of the full gamut of culture, and so they get a lot of flack for not being more inclusive with the type of artists that they represent.
So just because you put it on a marketplace does not mean that you're going to get the exposure or sell it at a fee because you just like magically appeared on a marketplace. You still have to do some sort of promotion or marketing or something to get the eyeballs and awareness to that specific listing, correct?
Yeah. So the other way to ask that question is like, oh, so here I am gonna go. I got my invite, and I'm in the cool kids club, and I'll pay the extra gas fees. That's okay because now I'm on this limited super club version of the NFT market. And so I'll just post my listing and I'll be fine, right? Because I'm in this cool kids club and that's going to sell my artwork right away, right? And the answer is no. You have to still promote it. You have to still draw the eyeballs and tell the story and make a compelling reason for why someone would want to invest in your art and in your career.
So there's other platforms. These are mostly graphic, 3D animation, and everything else. Do you want to go over some of the other ones that aren't necessarily like for musicians or anything like that? Are there any other marketplaces? No?
I don't think so. I haven't found the go-to musician platform. I mean, I'll call out MP3 Finance. That's pretty close to a really cool project. Not close. That is a super cool project and close to maybe a go-to marketplace. But it's not like the turnkey end-all be-all solution for a marketplace for musicians. That hasn't really come to the surface yet. And might just be that the NFTs.tips are the first one to market with that type of a project.
So the next thing I want to do is teach you guys about the buying experience, because if you don't ever buy an NFT, how do you expect to successfully sell one if you don't understand the journey of the buyer? So part of this course that we built was to give you that education, to get you onboarded into the MetaMask, to open up your accounts, to get your different your things straight so you can now purchase something. At the same time, we want to also build up our own community, so we're going to give you access to buy from a list of level 3s so you guys can help support them, and then the level 2s, as you become a level 3, will help support you